I found out my boyfriend was about to propose to me, then he changed his mind. Help. I, 26 female, have been with my boyfriend John, 29 male, for 5 years. We have a pretty awesome relationship, great communication, fun, easygoing with good chemistry. We've always talked about getting married, and I have, or had, no doubts that we would be getting engaged very soon. Recently, John, myself, John's closest friend, and his girlfriend went on a trip to Vegas for several days. We had a great time, all 4 of us, and on our last night there, John told us that he wanted to go to the Bellagio fountains to see them before we had to leave. Everyone was up for it. We went for a nice dinner beforehand, and then began watching the fountains, and the music came on. It was really romantic, and I was really enjoying myself, and that's when John grabbed my wrist. He turned me towards him, and I saw that he was sweating profusely. Like, his face was bright red, and he looked like he was about to pass out from trembling so hard. The whole time it looked like he was about to say something, but he never did. He just informed all of us that he wasn't feeling well and wanted to go back to the hotel. Our friends looked really puzzled, and were whispering into each other's ears all the way back to the hotel. I kept asking John if he was okay, and he just said that he probably had too much to drink. We've been back for a couple of weeks, and he's been acting really distant and cold. I honestly knew something weird was up that night in Vegas, so I called up John's friend's girlfriend, who I'm fairly close to, and asked her if she knew what was going on with John, since he had been at their place a lot this past week instead of coming home. Eventually, she spilled the beans and told me that he had planned on proposing to me that night at the fountains, but then didn't. That is why the 2 of them had been acting so confused. I kept grilling her, and she also told me that John had told his friend that it didn't feel right. She made me promise not to tell John that I knew because she didn't want anyone to be upset with her. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. We live together, and he's been spending all of his time at his friend's house or at his parents' place since we got back. He barely calls me or responds to my texts anymore. I don't know what happened that night, but I feel like he's about to end things. I want to talk to him, but I don't know how to approach the issue. Do I just say, "Hey, I heard you were going to pop the question the other night, but changed your mind"? What gives? Was he really nervous? I'm freaking out. Edit, he'll be home shortly. I told him over the phone that I needed to talk to him, and his words were, "I need to talk to you too." I'll update when I can. Thanks for all the advice, folks. Bethanachol says, a lot of people are brushing this off as proposal jitters, but they're glossing over the fact that he's been distant, literally and emotionally. It doesn't sound like the type of situation where he's just going to plan another proposal. You should ask him what's wrong, because it's pretty clear that something is. If he guesses that you know, don't lie, but you don't necessarily need to confront him about the proposal. What you need to do is find out why he's freaking out in general. My guess is cold feet in terms of being confused, panicked, and unprepared regarding that permanent level of commitment, but you really need to talk to him to find out. OP replies, if he hadn't been acting distant and practically ignoring me, I'd attribute it to feeling nervous in the moment. He's typically very open with me, and will straight up tell me whether something is bothering him or not. This is what confuses me the most. He's coming home soon, so I'll talk to him about it. Bella is my cat's name says, this topic is actually pretty easy to broach without incriminating your friend. Just ask him where he stands on getting married someday. You've been together for a long time, and it's really not unusual for couples to discuss things at this stage in your relationship. Give him a chance to openly and honestly air his feelings about getting married to you before jumping to any conclusions. Let him know that it's safe to talk to you about it, even if he thinks that you aren't going to like what he says. It might be a tough conversation for the both of you, especially if it really is a "I'm not sure if I want to get married to you" conversation, but it really does just need to happen. Edit to clarify, do not ask him if he was going to propose to you. Ask him generally what his feelings are on getting married at some point in your life, and let the conversation flow naturally. Yeah, I agree with that one. I think directly approaching this one like that is going to cause more drama than it's worth. But at the end of the day, you know your partner more than us, and this is very much out of character behavior, so you take it as you will, OP. OP then comes back with an update and says, hello everyone. I apologize for not updating sooner, but a lot has happened. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who posted comments and to those who tried to reassure me. So John came home last night at around 11:30 as I was watching TV in our bedroom. He came in and looked like absolute shit. His eyes looked tired and baggy, and he smelled like beer. He apologized to me for the way that he had been acting recently, and told me he knew that I knew about the almost proposal, as he had talked to his friend Mike, and he told John that his girlfriend Tara had told me everything. He basically said to me that he had the whole thing planned out. He was going to propose, and Tara and Mike would take pictures. Then we would go back to a romantic, more expensive room in our hotel, which Mike and Tara had to end up staying in that night so as to make sure that I wasn't aware of the fact that John was supposed to propose. They switched keycards while I was walking back. He then told me what I was afraid of. It just didn't feel right. I was looking at you and it just wasn't what I wanted. Ouch. He told me that he had been nervous ever since he bought the ring, but that he thought that it would go away once he actually proposed. In the moment, he said he knew that it was not what he wanted, and thought that it would be better to not ask me to marry him because he knew that it wasn't what he'd want in the long run. So at this point, I'm in hysterics, as I pretty much know that this is the end of the relationship. I tried to be calm and rational about it, but there was one point where I was crying so hard that I literally got down on my knees, put my head in his lap while he sat on the couch, and just kept incoherently saying please in between sobs. Not my proudest moment. But at that moment, this man was my best friend, the future father of my children. I just never, ever in a million years pictured our relationship coming to this point. He ended it with me last night because it didn't feel right, and that's all he could say to me over and over. It just doesn't feel right anymore. I can't see myself with you. At that point, I could barely breathe. Feels like I'm having a panic attack, so I call my mum and she comes to pick me up from our place. My poor mum, she just looked so helpless while I sat there in the car crying so hard that I eventually got a nosebleed. So, I wish I could say that this is the end of the story, but more has happened since last night. This morning, I'm on Facebook, looking through a bunch of old pictures of John and me, sobbing uncontrollably and sending him text after text with reasons why we should be together. And I eventually stumble onto Mike's page through a tagged photo. He updated his status from a few hours ago to something along the lines of, "California was amazing. Wish work would send me for more than 5 days." My stomach started doing flips because John kept telling me that he was spending the days he was practically ignoring me with Mike. But Mike was in California for several days, and we're in Canada, so not very close. I freaked. I called Mike from my house phone, and when he answered, I said, "Hey, it's OP." And all he could say after a few seconds of silence was, "Fuck." Basically, Mike's been covering for John's ass while John is spending time with the girl he's apparently been banging for the past 6 months. I know this girl. John works with her, and she's always been really sweet to me whenever I've seen her at John's work-related events. Mike told me that John had told him that he was falling in love with her. He said this after the incident in Vegas. He's been spending almost all of the past 2 weeks with her. Mike then told me that he had promised not to say a word to anyone, not even Tara, but he felt guilty and was glad that I called him. He apologized and said if I had to tell John that he told me, I could. That's all I know for now. I haven't bothered contacting John yet, and I don't know if Mike told him that I know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've been throwing up all day. I took one of my mum's Ativans, and I'm feeling a bit calmer right now, but whenever I think about it, which is practically all that consumes my thoughts, I feel disgusted, humiliated, and devastated. It actually feels like my heart is breaking in two, and I have no control. I need to get my stuff from our place. I need to find a new place. We have a dog. Who gets the dog? I love my dog. It all feels so surreal. Edit, update. John called me a bunch of times while I was in an RX-induced / depression coma. I woke up as he was calling me again and kinda just answered the phone without thinking about it. He was crying and apologizing. I guess Mike told him that I knew and saying he was confused. He asked me where I was, and I lied and said that I was with my sister an hour away from here at her place. I asked him if he was with her, and he said yes, but that he would be home tomorrow, so could I please meet him to talk about things at our house? I said sure. I asked my mum to drive me back to our place a little while ago, and I kidnapped my dog. I brought her back, and I'm feeling much, much better. I am also not meeting with him tomorrow. You guys, I didn't think that it would help this much to ask you guys for advice, but I've read each and every one of your comments, and dear God, I feel 1,000 times better than I did a few hours ago. Thank you. Thank you. Like, I feel so different. It's weird. Conceptionary says, I can't believe that he was going to propose to you despite banging someone else. I'm so sorry. F-word, you'll see you in the Northern Territory says, I know this will sound harsh, but take it from someone who has been in your shoes. Ignore him, block his Facebook, delete all the pictures of you two together, change the style of your house, and go to the gym. Don't give him any more of your attention. Cheaters thrive on emotional games and attention. This will drive him crazy and save your emotions. Even if you have to lie to yourself and say, hey man, screw this guy, I don't give a shit about him. Do it. Go out, pamper yourself, nails, hair, clothes, the works. Seriously, when I was getting out of my last relationship, the advice I got, which I passed on to you, saved me. It'll be hard at first, but just remember, recovering from a cheater is a day-by-day process. If you follow my advice, I can promise you won't regret it. Fries with Shake Booty says, gosh, OP, he was just confused for 6 months that you know about. Honestly, they're all trash. Cheaters are trash, friends that cover for them are trash. I hope OP gives Tara a heads up. R. White Choc Muffin says, it's not even the cheating that shocks me. He called the woman he was going to propose to crying, begging to talk, while with the affair partner, and constantly called her. The audacity! I'm glad the affair partner knows that she isn't special. He called the one that he actually wanted, and royally screwed things up with, while in her presence. She knows that she's not his first choice. May that thought haunt her every time she's about to drift off to sleep. Just an absolute basket case of a situation, that one. So insane that he would call OP while with the affair partner. What is the thought process there? Are there no self-preservation skills involved? Is there no shame? Is there no self-awareness? It's just so embarrassing to see people do this to themselves. And like, for what? You're just burning your own life down. I'm so glad he didn't propose to her. Oh my God. What an embarrassment of a man, huh? But anyway, what do you guys think of this one? I'd love to know your take on the story. Was OP somehow the asshole here? Let me know. Let's go to the next story. This one was by Responsible Log 5039, titled, Girlfriend, female 28, lied and went to an event that I wanted to go to without me, male 30, and I don't know what to do. I'm not going to start this out with the whole, our relationship is perfect, but thing that you always see on here. I'll admit that this has been one of the hardest relationships I've been in. I still very much love her. She's beautiful, strong, driven, successful, and independent. And our relationship is perfect, but what she did on the couch, I can never forgive her for. I'm such a wind-up merchant. However, my girlfriend is a dismissive avoidant to the extreme, and it's been causing a lot of issues in our relationship. She's just like me, for real. She's in therapy, but that's mostly focusing on managing her OCD and related eating disorder. Fun fact, all 3 issues are often comorbid. She has issues expressing her emotions and needs, and struggles with communication, commitment, and compromise as a result. We've been dating a little over a year. Prior to me, her longest relationship was less than 2 months. She usually shuts down and runs from relationships if she feels smothered, if her partner lets her down, or if she feels like she's being criticized. It doesn't take much for this to happen. She does recognize this, and she's trying to work on it, but it's hard on us both. Both of us are big theater nerds. A few months ago, we had a trip to a city about 2 hours from us to visit her grandparents, and I got to meet her best friends from college for the first time. While there, we went to a show with her friends. I honestly had a great time. Her grandparents love me, and I got along really well with her friends. There was another show coming up in a few months that both of us have connections to. It was the first musical she ever saw with her grandparents, and I worked on a production in high school. I asked my girlfriend if we could go. I even offered to bring her grandparents and treat them to a nice night out. They don't get out much anymore. Or we could go with her college friends. I immediately got shut down. She said that she didn't like that show, which she has mentioned before, and she didn't want to see it again. Fine, no big deal. That show was last weekend. We kind of had a fight on Saturday because I was about 15 minutes late to picking her up to hang out at a brewery, and she felt really let down. She's broken up with other people for similar reasons and gave the silent treatment all day. Eventually, I get her to open up, we apologize to each other, and have a decent evening at home. The next morning, she says that she doesn't feel great and wants to go home to rest. I drive her home and asked if she needed me to stay with her to take care of her or anything. Nope. She just wants a quiet day to herself. I tell her to let me know if she needs anything, and then headed home. Oh my god, she sounds exhausting, OP. Why are you putting up with this? I don't hear from her all day. Even when she's relaxing, we're usually trading memes and Snapchats of our cats, but she's not even opening my messages. Earlier that week, she had a migraine so bad that I needed to take her to the emergency room, and her sister just had a baby that's been having some health problems. I started to get really worried that something was wrong by late afternoon, so I decided to check her location on Find My. She is not at home. She's not even in our city. She's just leaving a restaurant and walking to the theater to go see the show that I really wanted to see. I assume she was with her friends again. The restaurant is a favorite of theirs. It's a nicer restaurant where they would have needed a reservation, and the show is a popular show. Everything would have needed to be planned well in advance. I'm not worried about her cheating or anything. Her friends are married to each other, and she wouldn't be going with anyone else except maybe her grandparents. Oh, my sweet summer child. My sweet boy. My delusional little lollipop. I'm just so hurt over everything. I really wouldn't have minded if she had already had plans to go to the show with her friends. I just don't understand why she lied to me about not being willing to go, and why she lied to me to hide that she was going. I think she just didn't want to explain that she wanted to go with her friends and without me. I don't know how to bring this up to her. She's very sensitive to criticism. Even though I'm hurt and not mad at her, she'll probably take it as an attack. She also just doesn't really like me expressing my feelings to her in general and tends to shut down and withdraw. I'm worried that if I bring this up, she'll just break up and leave to avoid the conversation. She's threatened to do that before on much smaller issues. How can I bring this up without scaring her off? How many more excuses are you going to make for this woman, OP? Oh my god. Can you please have some self-respect and just leave her? If you bringing up obvious hypocriticism causes her to break up with you, then how's that a bad thing, my brother? Have some self-respect. Get out of there. She is so exhausting. She is a waste of space. She is a waste of breath. Only she's allowed to be upset about everything. No, we're not going to talk about it. You have to bow down to her every whim. What's going on here? I double dare you to bring it up to her and scare her off and find someone that is worthy of your presence. You have too much patience, I might say. Sometimes you can be too empathetic for others, and it only ends up hurting you. I wish nothing but the best for you and the worst for her, because she is a gigantic pile of shit for what she's done to you. Partial Necessity says, imagine living the rest of your life where your feelings and your thoughts about situations are met with hostility. This is where you're headed in this relationship. It screams narcissism, and trust me, you'll regret it if you continue. This isn't something that you can fix. If she's already being dishonest, it's probably time to let her work on herself by herself. Necessary Tap replies, if you can't talk to her about this, the relationship is already over because it will never last. There is a reason that she cycles through relationships, and you just became the next casualty. And Morbid Longing says, dude, come on. You have to bring it up. If she breaks up with you, you know that it's not a you problem, it's a her problem. Regardless of her issues, she shouldn't be treating you like this, and I think you know this. You can't fix her with your understanding and patience, or by being a doormat. She knows that you wanted to see this, turned you down, and perhaps this isn't a charitable assumption, but I think she went without you as punishment. That's not cool. Find your spine and be okay with standing up for yourself. And what do you know, Opie comes piling back in with an update and says, I spent a lot of time thinking about what to do. I made my post on Monday, we had a date planned for Wednesday, and I decided that I would bring it up then. On Tuesday, she was having a bad day at work, but she didn't really let me know. She texted me about an email that her asshole boss sent her, and I thought my response was appropriately supportive and validating. Basically telling the guy off and letting her know that she's right to be frustrated. I get it, Kurt. Is that all you took from that? Back from her? My god, sorry for being supportive, babe. I probably should have thought a bit more, but I was dealing with my own work issues and a migraine, so I lazily just doubled down on my first response. Boss. Again, reiterating that she has every right to be angry. She didn't respond. I didn't double text, but I did reach out via Snapchat and Instagram messages to see if she'd respond there. She didn't open any of my messages. Because I'm always trying to make excuses for her, I assumed she's busy and will respond when she has time. Oh my god, I'm begging, I beg. Get out of there. If you couldn't tell from the first post, my girlfriend really struggles with communication. Is that what you call it? Okay. Finally, 4 hours later, she responds with how she doesn't feel emotionally supported and she needs some space to think about the future of our relationship. I was super confused and asked what was wrong. I got the response, I just had a really crappy day and you didn't even bother to call me. I'm gonna scream, I'm being manipulated by this woman now. I kind of snapped at that a little. I asked why she didn't respond to any of my messages, or why didn't she say, hey, I had a really bad day at work and need to hear your voice, or something like that. I pointed out that she never asks me for emotional support, she just acts out until I figure out what she needs or until she gets frustrated and gives me the silent treatment. I text back, I didn't respond because it wouldn't have mattered, I cannot always be the one putting in the work. Ooh, damn! You tell him. I explained for what felt like the 1000th time that I can't read her mind. She needs to communicate her needs. She's intentionally avoiding work by refusing to open up and asking for help. I understand that's hard for her, but I can't make up for that on my end. OP, look up the term learned helplessness. I think it'll help a lot in this case. I pointed out that I didn't realize she was having an awful day. I just thought that she was dealing with regular work bullshit. She never tried to clarify how she was feeling or what she needed. She texts back, I've been saying I need more effort from you for months and nothing has changed. This is the exact argument that I didn't want to have, and you pushed it. I responded that I desperately want to support her, but she isn't giving me anything to work with. I gave her the space she asked for and told her that I love her. The next morning, she asks if she can come over after work to talk. After I confirm, she goes back to giving me the silent treatment. I soon found myself blocked on Snapchat and Instagram. Weirdly enough, it was this that finally made it click for me about how bad I'd been treated. I was so starved for emotional and non-sexual physical intimacy, she doesn't even like holding hands, let alone cuddling, and was an anxious mess from constantly walking on eggshells. But I'm stubborn. I loved her. I really wanted things to work, and was still wanting to talk things out. She's pulled a similar stunt before, and we ended up staying together. She finally comes over. We start out going over our communication issues. Her big thing is that she feels that with a compatible partner, everything should come naturally, including knowing when your partner needs something without asking. She can get overwhelmed and just shuts down, and asking for help is also very overwhelming for her. Goes against her need to feel independent and self-sufficient, and feeds her fear of getting into a toxic codependent relationship just like her parents. So she feels that this is an appropriate expectation to have. I feel like she's delusional. I explain that she's asking me to read her mind, that she's putting all of the emotional labor on me, and that isn't a realistic or fair expectation to have. She started to change the subject, which is a go-to of hers when she's uncomfortable with a conversation. We jumped around to various issues in our relationship. She randomly says that she doesn't feel like she really knows me. I ask her what she means by that, and she says that she never knows what I'm thinking or feeling, and I'm too closed off. Literally projection. Literally projection. All false, and this definitely feels like projection on her part. It also hit on a deep insecurity that she didn't actually care enough about me to try to get to know me. She barely engaged in my interests and hobbies, rarely asked me questions about myself, and if she did, they were usually negative questions. On the other hand, I made all the effort to know about the things that she cared for. She then brought up that we've been dating for a year, but have no plans to move in together. Again, this hit on a major insecurity of mine. I've been trying to bring this up for months. I straight up asked her when she was having issues at her place and she was thinking about moving. This was late July, around our 1-year anniversary. On the other hand, she gave me different answers every time I asked her what she wanted for our future, if she didn't try to change the subject instead. She's never brought up our future on her own. I always was the one to bring it up. I made it clear that the only reason we don't have future plans is because she doesn't seem to want to make them. I also said there's nothing wrong with that, but she needs to let me know if she's not ready for that step. Pointing all of this out made her go quiet. Not silent treatment quiet, but when things get too intense for her, she just starts to shut down and withdraw. It took a few minutes for her to come out of it, and as she did, I explained that I felt that I was the only one really putting effort into our relationship. She asked me what I seriously wanted. I began in a kind of roundabout way, I guess. I explained that 6 years ago, I had to end an engagement to my fiancé after she became an abusive alcoholic, then spent the next few years working 80+ hours a week at a job that I hated while watching my dad slowly die. All things she already knows. What I was going to say next is that after going through all of that, I wanted to get a job that was better for my mental health, and I succeeded, and I wanted to find my person. Instead, I got cut off. She said that maybe I started dating too soon after my dad's passing. Mind you, we started dating about 9 months later. This really threw me off and took me a minute to recover. What a nasty piece of work she is, oh my god. Me when I opened my soul to you and you just stabbed me in the face. Before I could continue, she said that she just doesn't feel like our communication styles are compatible. I asked her if she seriously thinks that she has good communication skills. Which she said she feels like she does. I finally brought up the show. I said that I know that she went without me, and I explained how I know, and my justification for looking up her location. This visibly shocked her, and she shut down again. More manipulation, so yum. I asked why she lied to me, twice. No answer. I asked if she was cheating on me. No, she went with her college friends. She eventually confirmed that this was planned before I even asked to go. As I suspected, she just said that she didn't want to go to avoid what she felt was an uncomfortable conversation. I asked her if she felt like this was okay. Yes, she was worried that if she told the truth, I'd push her to let me go with them. I asked if I've ever tried to pressure her into doing something that she didn't want to do. Yes, I asked to watch movies that she doesn't like over and over again. Again, a sore spot. Oh my god, movies? That's manipulation. You've got a knife to my throat. You're making me watch movies I don't like. I rarely got to pick what we wanted, and she seems to intentionally avoid movies that are important to me. Over Christmas, I asked to watch Home Alone to continue a tradition that I had with my dad. I wanted her to be there with me for support. She refused and found every way to invalidate my feelings. Have I ever pressured her outside of asking to watch a few of my favorite movies? No. I asked if I had done anything to make her feel unsafe opening up to me about any of this. Nope. She's just not the type to open up like that to anyone but her sister. How does she expect to have a serious relationship with someone if she won't open up to them? She feels like the right person will just make it easy for her. Yeah, after she makes them go through hell and back, maybe. Does she feel like she needs to do any work on herself to be a better partner? Of course not, because she doesn't really want to be a partner anymore. She said that our relationship was adding so much stress in her life to the point that it was affecting her job and eating disorder recovery. I'm not sure how true this is. She's been doing really well with both. Where is this stress coming from in our relationship for her? Well, the constant obligations and me constantly asking for more from her. I brought up how much work I've put into this relationship. I chauffeured her around for 2 months while her car was in the shop, visited her in the hospital every day, and then slept on her couch and took care of her for a week while she recovered from surgery. I've paid for the vast majority of dates, given her money when she overdrew her bank account, helped her move on short notice, and how I've always showed up for her when she's asked, and plenty of times when she didn't. I've also tried to model good relationship behavior, and how exhausting and heartbreaking it is to not have that effort reciprocated. Instead, I rarely got to plan dates or pick what movies and shows we watched due to her refusal to compromise. I put in all of this effort trying to open up to her and get her to open up to me. Her response be like, "I can't believe that you're keeping track of things like that. You know how toxic that is?" The few times that I asked for her emotional support, even on small things like watching Home Alone with me, she refused. She didn't take any interest in my hobbies, even those that we had in common. We had next to no emotional intimacy, and I had to constantly forgive her for blowing up at me for little things, giving me the silent treatment, or lying to me, while I always admitted when I was wrong and showed her that I was putting in the work to grow with our relationship. I've been giving so much without getting anything in return, and I didn't feel like my expectations were unrealistic at all. I was asking for the bare minimum. My needs weren't being met. She again just said that she doesn't think our communication styles are compatible. The pot calling the kettle black needs to shut its damn mouth. I guess this is the hill she wanted to die on to end our relationship. I did let her know that I didn't want to end things, and I was still willing to work on us. I offered to get us into a relationship counselor, but she refused. She was exhausted and couldn't do this anymore. At this point, I was exhausted too, that makes 3 of us, OP, and agreed to end things. She never cried or anything during the whole conversation, she just switched between being cold or looking uncomfortable. By the end, I was kind of a mess. Never raised my voice or got angry though. A week or so later, I wasn't doing so great. I made the mistake of getting drunk alone at home, then made the horrible mistake of trying to text her. I asked if she'd thought about us and if she was willing to talk. I got hit with, "Don't contact me, it's not coming across to you, so I'm being explicit. I want nothing from you except to never hear from you or see you again. I'm blocking your number. Contact me again and I'll be getting a restraining order. Go get some help and leave me alone." So that was great. I've been doing great. Between how exhausted everything made me and the fact that this relationship and breakup managed to hit most of my relationship insecurities, I've been kind of a mess. That's putting it lightly, OP. It's just been rough realizing how I hardly ever felt appreciated, valued, respected, or prioritized throughout our relationship, and how I never really felt like she saw me as a partner or us as a team. I realized that I made a lot of excuses for her, given her childhood trauma, and this being her first attempt at a serious relationship. A lot of her points about her not knowing me, or us not having plans for the future, felt really gaslighty, and it's messed with my head a lot. That and the constant nitpicking kind of destroyed my self-esteem. I honestly felt better after breaking things off with my ex-fiancé than I do after this breakup. Oh well, guess I had a lot of work to do on myself. I'm sorry that this probably wasn't a satisfying ending. Oh, don't you worry, I'm plenty satisfied, OP. Far Season says, "This story really highlights the idea that some people cannot bear the thought of being alone or by themselves. Why else would you put up with so much emotional turmoil when you know what you are getting?" Odd Blackberry says, "I have a friend like this. I wouldn't call his relationship abusive, but he's definitely not happy, and there are some mental health issues on his girlfriend's side. I've heard maybe one good thing about her from him, and every time I ask him, why stay? He just gets quiet. We both know he's willing to be miserable for the rest of his life because the idea of being alone terrifies him. I see him maybe once a month at this point because he's working 2 jobs to support her, or as he calls it, woman expenses." I honestly just feel bad for the guy. I've always been comfortable being alone, so the fear of it I've never understood. Today's lesson: humility. Having a spine, having respect for yourself. Is there no shame left in this world? It's okay to be alone, my brother. It's alright. It is possible to enjoy the tranquility of your own silence and peace. You don't need someone else there with you. As exhausting as that story from OP was, I had so much fun with it. Oh my god, what a thrilling escapade through a very dysfunctional couple. Please, OP, you need to come back with the 3-peat. Update 3 is you showing up to her house, crying and begging on her doorstep to take you back. I need it. Fill me up with that good drama. But for real, this is that hard lesson that a lot of people need to go through before they get it through their thick skulls. Not to do stupid shit. OP was mentally incapable of doing it the easy way, so he's figuring it out the agonizingly, painfully hard way. Not even the normal hard way, he chose hard mode of the hard way. I hope you don't go back, OP. I really hope you don't go back. Please have some self-respect. But if you choose not to, let us know so I can cover it, because that would be so funny. Anyway, guys, what do you think of this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? With that said, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. Let me know what you thought of both stories down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.